teppanyaki and omakase were my favorite. Teppanyaki was absolutely amazing. And we were all like, $115 for teppanyaki, like we were thinking like Benihana kind of stuff.
Right. Or
That
on
seems like
Royal, right?
way
It's like
overpriced,
on
but
Royal, I
no,
think it's
it's
like
like
60 or $70, something like that. Yeah.
it's amazing. It's super high end. Like the food is like amazing, 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 the best.
Welcome back, everybody, to this week's live episode of the DCL Duo podcast, brought to you by My Path Unwinding Travel. And also, we got to put in a special plug for our good friends over at the DCL magazine. I can stop calling them the WDW magazine and sending you there. They're the DCL magazine. And big shout out to Danny, Stephanie, Tim, Tatiana, the whole crew over there at the DCL magazine. If you have not subscribed already, head over today, dcl-magazine.com. That's dcl-magazine.com and use code DCLDuo for 10% off everything over there. I'm going to keep this mercifully short because we got a lot to cover
so much to talk about.
And a really fun guest to do it with. And so I'm just going to go ahead and bring in Luciana. Welcome, Luciana.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, it's so wonderful to have you. For those who don't know Luciana, this is the first time she's been on our show, but she does Instagram lives like all the time on her own Instagram channel, which is Amo Cruzeiro Disney. I'm probably mispronouncing that. It's in Portuguese, but she posts all kinds of Disney content. She owns a travel agency. All of her Instagram is in Portuguese, but she has amazing video. And guess what? Translate on Instagram, translates it all to English if you want to follow along with her adventures. But we're so excited. I met Luciana on the Disney Destiny. We know that we've been on cruises at the same time before, both on previews and maidens and probably other sailings as well. She is an avid Disney cruiser. She's been on all 8 ships now and probably been on the adventure more than any other guest. More than any guest that I know of, given how, the adventure just started sailing. She did 4 in a row. That's back to back to back to back sailings on the adventure.
That was not a typo on the YouTube art.
And so when we were chatting on the Destiny, and I heard that she was going on the first 4 sailings of the adventure, and of course that she's an expert on all things Disney Cruise Line, probably really honestly one of the premier experts, and an expert for the Brazilian community, absolutely, like for sure. But I was like, we have to have you on the show to talk about this grand travel plan. So let's start with why you chose to book 4 sailings on the Disney Adventure. You'd been, of course, on all the other ships multiple times, but why go all the way to Singapore to do this, Luciana?
So, of course, I wanted to see this super different ship, right? Like it's completely different from everything else, and only 3 and 4 night cruises. We had originally booked a 5-night cruise in December because they had 5-night cruises for Christmas and New Year's. So when they reschedule everything to March, I was like, okay, so 3-night cruises back to back. And I was like, no, I need to stay for a 4-night. So it was 3, 3, 3, 4. Because of course I was like, okay, if they do something different on the 4-night, I need to be there. And it's so far away anyway. So, okay, why not, right? Like traveling halfway across the world anyway. So that's why I booked the 4. Mm-hmm.
Well, and Sam, I think we should pause. I'm going to butcher this myself, but I looked this up because we have folks joining us now from Brazil in the chat. So I just want to welcome them to the show. And I want to say, Olá, bem-vindos. I hope I did not just say something offensive in Portuguese. My intent was to say hello and welcome.
Boas-vindas para todo mundo. There we go. All right. We love it. All right. So welcome for all of those folks who haven't watched or listened to our show before. But we're so excited to have Luciana, and we're so excited to have you all watching. So we started with why these sailings, why the 4 sailings. Of course, you mentioned it's quite far away. How long in advance did you? I know you live in the Orlando area. How far in advance did you go over to Singapore? Because it's obviously like a full day. When I say day, I mean like 24 hours of travel.
Right. I arrived 4 days before the maiden, just in case, because I wanted to make sure if there are any, flight delays or anything happen, I would have time to, recover. And
Mm-hmm.
also because of the time zone difference, because it's right now it's like a 12-hour difference from
Oof.
Orlando to Singapore. So I wanted to acclimate before boarding the cruise because I didn't want to be, falling asleep on the maiden voyage. So that was also a reason to go early.
I was going to say, I mean, you're effectively the entire trip asleep when you should be awake and awake when you should be asleep.
Yeah.
Like, wow, that's got to be brutal.
Yeah.
That's got to be
Yeah.
brutal.
Yeah.
You don't want your face like falling into a Palo souffle. I mean, it's like
There are worse places your face could fall, but yes, I agree. Yes.
Well, so let's start with where'd you stay? We're not going to cover the stuff you did in Singapore before the cruise or after the cruise because we want to really focus on talking about the adventure because there's so much to talk about. But of course, we should give the logistics of where did you stay and did you like wherever you stayed?
Yeah, I stayed in Orchard, which is a really nice area in Singapore that it's fairly close to where Marina Bay Sands and the Marina Cruise Center are located. My Singapore friends and clients were the ones who recommended. So I went with their recommendation and it was great. Very easy to go around and lots of shops and restaurants and hotels and everything there. So I really recommend it. I'm going again in December. I'll stay in the same area again. So yeah, that's a good place to be.
Perfect. Now, I know you had other folks sailing with you. You did 4 sailings. Who was in your sailing party? I know you changed rooms, and I love that you did that because I want to talk about the different staterooms that you stayed in. But who was sailing with you for these 4 sailings?
I sailed with 2 friends, my friends Anna and my friend Claudia. They sailed with me before. Like we have traveled together on Disney cruises a lot. Anna stayed with me for 3 cruises. Claudia stayed for the first 2. And then I did the 4th cruise by myself. They were like, no, too long. And I'm like, no, I'm not leaving before the fortnight.
I love it. I love it. I do think it's important to understand that with the Maiden, the ship wasn't on its regular schedule yet, and so you did have multiple 3-night cruises before you hit a 4-night cruise, and so that 4th cruise was your only opportunity to get that full 4-night itinerary,
Right.
which to me makes sense because it's going to have a slightly different schedule than the 3-night sailings that you have at the beginning. So let's talk about the boarding process. Is it similar to, I mean, we've talked to a couple of other folks who were on the Maiden with you, but not anyone who was on any later sailings. Is the boarding process in general similar to what we experience here in the States or in Europe when we sail, on a different Disney ship?
It's similar. However, you have to go through immigration at the port, which is the different part. When you arrive in Singapore, you have to do a Singapore arrival card. So it's an electronic, almost like an electronic visa. To enter Singapore, you need to do it within the 3 days that you arrive in Singapore. So when you are embarking on the cruise, you are exiting Singapore immigration. So you have to go through and put your passport, photo, and stuff that you do like an airport here. Then you do that at the port. So that was quite different. And you also do that every back-to-back cruise. You need to do an arrival card and arrival card, go through immigration. Every cruise, you have to do that over and over again.
Because you keep re-entering and leaving Singapore, essentially.
Yeah. So you need to do the arrival card, like your last day of the cruise, I'm like doing arrival card, then going through, coming back, same thing. Super easy to do the arrival card. I highly recommend you install the app because if you go through the website, you have to enter all your personal information, your passport all over again. If you do through the app, it saves your profile. You don't have to re-enter all that stuff. So do the app if you're doing back-to-back.
Ooh, great pro tip. Let's talk about the logistics of the back-to-back real quick because we have had a bunch of questions about that. Is the back-to-back process on the sort of Disney side of things, is it similar to what we experience here in the States where you're directed to a particular lounge to meet up and all the back-to-back cruisers are gathering and everybody's sort of exiting and entering together?
Yeah, kind of, not really.
Kind of. Okay.
They changed a little bit. So from the Maiden to the second cruise, so it was quite strange. And then from the second on, they kind of standardized more to be more like what we experience here. So they made a change from the second to the third cruise, and it kind of like it started becoming more familiar to what we experience here. So they do give you the ladder with instructions, what you need to do, where you need to go, a little yellow ticket. They didn't do that on the maiden, so that everybody on the maiden was like, oh, where's the ticket?
What do we do?
Where we go?
Yeah.
Right. And we had like almost 400 back-to-backers from the maiden to the second cruise. So that was, I don't know if they didn't do it because there were, too many people or, I don't know the reasons, but from the second cruise to the third and then third to the fourth, it was already kind of like more standard. But basically you can kind of like stay anywhere you want until 9:45 in the morning. Then you exit the ship. You can go to D lounge, but concierge uses the D lounge to exit the ship. So you can't be there too early. Otherwise, you're there with concierge. And then after they leave, you kind of can be there. It's not very controlled in that sense. But you can stay on the ship until 9:45, disembark, and then go through the check-in again at the port. And then you stay in a separate area to board with the back-to-backers. We boarded like the last cruise, we were boarding like 11:15, which was a little improvement over the first few that was kind of like, kind of almost close to noon. So 11:15 I was boarding. And the last one, the fourth cruise, I actually left the ship early, went to Singapore. I went to the doctor in Singapore and then came back to the ship because I had like a sty in my eye. I need like eye drops. Yeah. And then I had been seen by the ship doctor. It was not working. And then went to the doctor, came back. So, and I boarded like even before, like I boarded with the back-to-backers. I thought I was going to have to go through general boarding, but it worked out. But they have been like standardizing the process a little better.
How popular was back-to-back cruising? I mean, I'm assuming there was probably a good sized crowd that
first
did
to
the maiden,
second, of course.
the first to the second.
400 from the first to the second, and then after that was, I want to say like 30, 20 people. It was kind of decreasing, so not really a lot. I saw more people that were probably coming from, the US and Europe and those farther places that were doing back to back. The people from Asia were, I didn't see a lot of people from Asia that were doing back to back.
Yeah. What was so how full were your sailings? We heard the maiden was about 3,800 people, but did it seem to fill up after that or stay about the same? And then what did the mix of people look like? Because we'd heard some of the initial sailings were pivoting heavily, like not heavily, but more sort of Americans, Europeans. Yeah. And then it was going to taper off into something more normal. But what was your experience?
Definitely see the change. So maiden was 3,800, which was quite nice. Kind of like, kind of almost like a US sailing. And then the second cruise was about like 4,300 or so. And then my last two were 6,000. So 6,200. Yeah. So I could definitely tell the difference, especially with the garden stage shows, because they were way more crowded. Fireworks viewing, way more crowded. So the pools were more crowded. So you could definitely tell that the ship was more crowded. So we definitely saw that.
We skipped our news items for the week, but one of the things that came out yesterday on social media was that they have like a $50 add-on now for fireworks that you can sign up for to get a special viewing area for the fireworks. And I will say,
Luciana did it.
You did it.
Yeah.
Okay. So talk about how many people, like, how did you book it? And then, like how many people were there in this, special viewing area? And
so they actually had that since the maiden, because at the maiden we were in concierge and they offered to us in concierge. So the concierge hosts were asking everybody if they wanted to book that. And then we declined for the maiden. We're like, no, we're just, see how it works and see how it is. And then on the third cruise, I decided that like, I'll give it a try just to see, if it's like so much better than viewing.
Right. Is it worth it? Of course, that's always the question. Yeah.
Right. And then we walked into the ship and we went to guest services and asked, we want to book that special firework viewings. And they said, it's sold out. And we're like, it's sold out. Like, what do you mean? And they're like, we'll put your name on a wait list or whatever. But By the second day, we were able to book. We got services. I think they hold the spots for concierge, and then if concierge doesn't get all the spots, they release to the rest of the people. But this is not like confirmed by Disney, but that's what we think, because that's kind of like how it works. They offer to concierge first, and then I think that whatever they didn't book with concierge, they offer to the rest of us. So we did that on the third cruise. Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
And the viewing spot is really nice. Obviously, you can get as good at a view, and we did get the same view pretty much standing kind of like above the area, because the area is on deck 17. You can stay on deck 18 and, on the same spot, like behind them. So you can get the same view, but you have to, get there super early. You stand or you sit on the floor, and then you just wait there for, 40 minutes, an hour. I don't know how long that you're going to wait there. So that's the advantage. You're there in a nice chair, sitting there, and they serve you, bubbly and desserts, and they give you like a Lion King pin. That's your souvenir. And then you just, stay there waiting and drinking and eating, and you see the fireworks, and you're not, kind of standing or, in the middle
You're
of
not body to body with everybody.
Right. Yeah. But in terms of view, you can get that view. That's not like the only way of getting the view. My very last cruise, I decided to try like a different view. I got an actual chair. I got there early to the side, and I put a chair and I sat there, and it was fine as well. So, you don't have to do that to get the good view. So there are other ways to see it.
This sounds like Magic Kingdom fireworks dessert party at sea, which makes sense, given that they're billing this as like the theme park at sea. I'm a little shocked that they would charge concierge for that, because on the other ships, if they have a viewing area, they will just take the concierge folks out to a special deck or someplace where they can kind of see it. Now, it's not quite as nice as what you're describing, but we've certainly been taken out on the Wonder and the Magic to like a deck.
Only the Wonder. The Magic doesn't have it.
Oh, the Magic doesn't have it. That's right. Yeah. It's only the Wonder, I guess.
So I watched fireworks from the Fantasy pool deck. I watched pirate fireworks from the Fantasy concierge pool deck. But you don't get to watch the show. You get to watch the fireworks only, right? Like you can hear the show, but you don't watch. You don't see the show. You just watch the fireworks, which was nice. But that's the concierge area already, right? They are not that area that they're booking for this is not the concierge area. The concierge lounge doesn't have a good view. It's too far forward, so you wouldn't really have a good view of the fireworks on the concierge pool area in the adventure. So I think that's kind of like why, because if you had a good view from the concierge pool area, then they would not charge you. But this is it's a separate area that they're kind of making something different. But it is very much like a dessert party.
Yeah, I really hope they don't. I really hope that they don't. Like, I don't want to see this on the other ships, Disney Cruise. I just want to say that flat out. Like, I don't like the nickel and diming approach, and like,
I agree with you.
Yeah. I think it makes total sense on the adventure. I think it makes total sense.
I do like a new pin, and I do like getting a pin.
Will we sign up for this if we go on the adventure?
Would you pay $49 for a pin? You don't need to pay $49 for a pin.
Probably not.
Also dessert. All the dessert that you're serving is dessert that you can find at the restaurants anyway. So, like I just came from dinner, and I was like, skip eating dessert at the restaurant for dinner, and then I'll eat at the party. But, it's really like, it's not necessary. It's the luxury for sure. And it's a nice thing, but it's really not necessary.
What did you think about the fireworks show? Because Disney's made a big deal about this. It's a Lion King production. It's like 11 to 12 minutes long. It's 4 times longer than Pirate Night fireworks are currently.
And they shoot off many more fireworks than what is shot off on a Pirate Night and or
you
New
can
Year's
definitely
Eve.
tell. It is a much bigger show. I really like the show. It's funny because, coming from all the other Disney ships, I've seen all the other fireworks, and I know what the fireworks in the ships look like. I know, like what it looks like in the classic ships, in the Dream class ships, in the Wish class ships. And then I get there and I see this, I'm like, wow, this is, a lot more fireworks, really cool. Very nice soundtrack to the Lion King. It is 12 minutes. I did count that. I had my videos, and I looked at the timestamps. It is 12-minute show. So really, really nice. But I was talking to some people who were from Asia and they never been on a Disney ship ever, right? And they never seen fireworks on a ship. And they were like, oh, we thought it was going to be, much bigger show. And we were like, I was like, oh, okay.
Oh my God. So they were expecting probably something like what you see at New Year's Eve or 4th of
Yeah,
July
on
at the
land,
parks,
right?
right?
And
On
I was
land.
like,
But
yeah, the ship is not going to carry the amount of fireworks that you see on land, right? That's
no,
like a really, super high expectation. But to
right.
me, it was like, wow, this is a lot of fireworks. This is really nice, much nicer show than the other ships have. But, all these first timers that had no clue about fireworks on the ship, they had an expectation that, and they were like, oh, no, that was,
Wow. Well, and
yeah,
it's funny because Disney still is the only cruise line that is doing fireworks at sea. So it's not like
right.
this is universal across cruise lines. Like they've been the only ones in the industry doing it for, I think they said like 15 or more years. They didn't start doing fireworks at sea when the cruise line first launched, almost 30 years ago, or yeah, almost 30 years ago. But yeah, that's really funny. But different audiences, and they maybe saw some advertisements and not really understanding what they were getting
Right.
into. Yeah.
Right. And that's, a lot of the stuff that I'm seeing online about the adventure is about expectations, right? So
Yeah.
like I keep seeing a lot of people saying, oh, I was so disappointed, but like the expectations really kind of didn't match, right? So like to
Yes.
say that you were disappointed with the 12-minute fireworks show on a cruise ship, it's like, wow, right? What is the expectation and what is possible, right? Like, and that's really what it comes down to. So I was like, wow, this is great because, fireworks is 3 minutes, 4 minutes tops. And this is like a 12-minute show. So like, whoa, Disney, you really like did
Yeah.
amazing. And then these people are like, oh, I expected something that like, the show they just had in Singapore, the fireworks
Mhm.
show they had on land, like with Marina Bay Sands with drones and fireworks and stuff. I was like, yeah, that's not going to happen on a cruise ship. So
Let me ask. Let me
yeah.
ask. I want to ask this because I want to move us thematically through the ship a little bit here, and we got a lot to cover. Let me just ask. The first question I want to ask is: as you notice the people increasing,
Mhm.
how much longer did things take? Did it? I mean, like, what got impacted the more that people showed up? Because we'd heard about like dining reservations at like non-sit down restaurants that were on the Maiden that then fell away. Obviously the rides are limited capacity, the pool deck is limited capacity. Like, did it start
And
to really
character meet and
feel
greets.
crowded on
Yeah.
the ship? And like, how long were you waiting for things on board as the crowds picked up?
It really didn't. I in terms of like waiting, didn't really. I didn't feel that much of an impact, but
Mm.
could definitely tell that the garden shows were way more crowded
Mhm.
because Imagination Garden, has that amount of people that it can accommodate, and then. For the maiden, for example, we were like watching the sailing away party, and it was like halfway full, right? Like
Right.
like half of it, like you can come in, dance in the back, and no big deal. And then for the last cruise, like when you really saw people for the Avenger show, the whole thing was taken. Like there was no space. And the previous cruise we had, they let us sit down to watch the Avenger show, and then the last one they made everybody stand because I guess there was not enough space for everybody to sit down.
Mhm.
So yeah, that definitely has an impact on um, how many people were on the ship at that point. And then obviously
Yeah.
the pools could definitely tell, especially because the amount of children. I heard over 2,000 children. I don't know if that's true,
Oh,
but
wow. On
I
that like
heard
last
2,300
sailing?
children. Yeah.
Wow.
It was a school holiday in Singapore. I heard 2,300 children. I don't know if that's true, but
Well, you
so
said
yeah.
over
So
6,000 people, so that makes I
yeah,
mean, that's it's funny because the character of the guests change from the maiden to mostly adults, right? To the fourth sailing being more of the general mix that it's probably more likely to be in the future. Now, it's of course,
right,
there's gonna be variation based on school holidays and things like that. I'm
right.
curious about speaking of expectations, I'm curious about the reservation systems and how those things maybe impacted people's expectations for the good or for the bad. I think there's probably a lot of good that comes out of a reservation system as well as people being annoyed that they have to be on their phone so much. But I
Right.
know some of that changed too over the course of the sailings. Tell us what kind of changed, and then also how, like, did you find the reservation systems that existed and that persisted? Were they good, bad, mixed? Like, yeah, I'd love to hear your
Right.
thoughts on that.
So on the Maiden, when we boarded, we pretty much had to book everything, right? You had to book quick service restaurants, you had to book the rides, you had to book the hero training zone, you had to book characters, everything you had to book, right? It was like book, book, book. And then we were like, ooh, this is too much. Like, I don't know what time I'm going to go for like a quick service burger. That's kind of like, it's a little much. But already on the second cruise, they dropped the quick service reservations. They dropped ride reservations. The shop reservations. We had to book shops for the Maiden for the first night. So they dropped that for from the second cruise on. And then when I was chatting with the folks that work on the ship, they were basically saying we will make reservations needed, kind of like depending on how many people we have, right? So if we don't have that much of a crowd, then we're not going to require reservations for certain things. And if we are seeing that it's a really full sailing, then we're going to put some reservations in place. But they did not come back with quick service reservations at all. No shop reservation at all. But the ride reservations kind of fluctuated between the sailings and the hero training zone also. But they were doing a mix of reservations needed with open queue hours, which is really nice. And I like that a lot. Because if you didn't get a reservation, you still have a chance to go and wait in line. So I think that's the optimal mix that, they were doing like rides. Yeah, rides at after 5 o'clock, you could just wait in line. Same for the hero training game. You could wait in line after some time. There were times that you were there and they had like all the booked people waiting, and you could approach and say, hey, are you going to do open queue? And they were like, well, once these people are done and we don't have any more people booked, you can just wait in line. So it was like, a good balance, and I like what they did. For the characters though, that's where things are not good. So they had a certain number of characters to book for the Maiden. They had Mickey, Minnie, Duffy, Shelly Mae, Baymax, Rogue Gathering to book for the Maiden Voyage. And then for cruise number 2 and number 3, they only had Mickey, Minnie, and Baymax. And then for cruise number 4, cruise number, and they had Rogue Gathering through all of them. And then cruise number 4, they came back with Duffy, Goofy, Shelly Mae, Baymax. So we had 7 opportunities to book characters. However, you can only book the 7 characters, and most of the other opportunities for photos were selfies, which I hate.
Right.
And I really gave that feedback on the ship like several times. Like, seriously, you guys have to have characters in the schedule. That's an expectation for any Disney cruise, right? You go on a Disney cruise, you expect that you're going to have characters on a schedule that you're going to go and wait in line and take a picture of the character. And it doesn't matter if it's going to take a long time, the line is going to be long or whatever it is. Like, you can choose if you want to wait or not. But they basically took that choice away from people. And it was either you book or you do a selfie, or you're going to catch a character while the character is strolling around the ship. And that is the part that really created a lot of controversy. Because people were all complaining about like, people were being so rude and shoving and pushing and all that when they meet a character that's roaming around the ship. But to be honest with you, I don't think it's an Asian problem. I think that if you only had characters roaming the ship and you couldn't see the characters on any Disney ship, and that,
any other time,
you're going to only catch them if you catch them walking around, I don't think people are going to be polite either, right? Yeah. I don't think it's an Asian problem. I think it's a scarcity problem.
Yeah.
And Disney made the characters scarce. And you really can't, tell people that, you have to be super polite and everybody's trying to get a picture and they don't have a time. They can, I literally was waiting for a Minnie Mouse one day. And I was like following around, and they were like, oh, she's just strolling around. She's not stopping to take pictures. I'm like, okay, I'll follow her around until she stops. And then she stopped. And then she took pictures with, 3 or 4 people in front of me. And then when it was my turn, the guy had the phone to take a picture from me, and she decided to go in and then that's
and
the end.
disappear. Oh,
Right.
yeah, that is definitely an area of improvement, because it's like I agree with you. I think when you have a scarcity issue, it doesn't matter what nationality, what culture you're from. Like, everybody who loves Disney
I've
characters
seen
is going to
plenty
want
of
a
Americans
picture.
throw elbows in the
Yes.
park. So
Yeah.
let's
And even on the ships, when you have characters roaming on the other ships, we even see that happen. You see people sort of, some of us maybe like kind of following along, waiting patiently, and then you'll have somebody else who like just cuts right in front of you to get that picture.
Right.
And it happens.
Especially,
I think
children. Sometimes a child
exactly.
will come running and hug a character, and
And there's not much
they're
you can do
children.
about it. Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And it's just a matter of like, we always say like, pack your patience pants, right? Because that's one of those things where when you're on a cruise and especially when you're trying to see characters, sometimes you just gotta like have to be really patient. But in this situation, that's kind of crazy that even just 7 characters is kind of crazy, and that you don't have
Right.
like the rest of the Fab Five, you aren't having the rest of the Avengers out. That seems like a big problem.
So I want to move us along because we got a lot to cover here, and there's some good questions in the
I know.
chat.
We haven't even touched on food.
Yeah, I did just want to say on this point, though, I wonder how much of this is also like operationally imposed requirements coming out of Imagineering, because you could imagine like, at one, they don't have enough crew to do multiple character meet and greets, it sounds like. And so then if you had enough crew, what they should really consider doing is, can we put Duffy on the front and the back of the ship in some location for him to get photos with people? Pick your meet and greet, right? But that then breaks the Imagineering that Duffy is an actual sort of character wandering around the ship. So, yeah.
So just to say something on that point, because, I heard and when I was on the ship, like, oh, we don't have enough people or whatever, like we're working on it or whatever. But at the same time, you have so many characters that are roaming. So if you have all those characters that are roaming, why are they not in scheduled meet and greets, right?
Yeah.
So Donald Duck, there was no scheduled meet and greet with Donald Duck, no scheduled meet and greet with Daisy Duck. So why? Why they're walking around and they are not scheduled for a meet and greet? People will behave a lot better if they are scheduled. So that was my whole, like I don't get that. I don't believe that it's like, oh, we don't have enough. You're just using it in a different way.
Yeah.
And that way
They're
that
just
you're using it
in a way that's not working.
Right.
So we had a question here while we're talking about this. Do they offer the photo package on board? Because people are sort of saying, like, if they offer it, it seems like it's less of a value if you can't get these photos.
A lot of people are canceling. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So they do offer it, but maybe not the best value out there.
Yeah. If there's not a PhotoPass photographer and it's just take a selfie, what am I paying for a photo package for? I mean, we are Pearl cruisers, so we get the photo package included now. But for those who are paying a couple $100, that doesn't seem like a good value.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other question I wanted to raise here, which is a really good one, was what kind of feedback did you hear from what I'll call the local audience? Someone here was asking, like, did you hear anything about the fact that the ship didn't have a casino on it? Because that was a pretty big design decision. But like, what kind of feedback were you hearing from the local audience? Was it what they expected, or was it not what they expected?
A lot of people were also complaining about the characters because they went with expectation that they were going to, get autographs. They had autographs books, and when the characters are roaming,
they don't do autographs when they're roaming. They can't do autographs when you're doing selfies. It's only those scheduled meet and greets. I didn't even think about that, Luciana. That's a really good point, especially with the kids who like autographs. Oh, that makes me sad.
I heard a lot of parents complaining, saying like, I have an autograph book. My kid wanted autographs, and, no autographs, right? So same with the little girls with the princesses, and like some people got the royal gathering, some people didn't get the royal gathering, and there were some princesses that were scheduled, but very few opportunities. So there were like maybe like 1 or 2 days that had Ariel and Snow White that they were scheduled, but like one character at a time, right? Like you don't see one character at a time on Wish class ships, right? This is a bigger ship than a Wish class ship, and it had like one character at a time. So of course the line is enormous. So anyhow.
I wanted to ask about, since you mentioned that you sailed concierge for one of the sailings, a lot of new sort of not new offerings in the sense they've always had stores on, but a lot of like concierge exclusive kind of offerings, special, they have their own shopping, their own gym, their own spa, their own lounge. Like,
Oh,
How did you?
an
Their
actual
own
pool?
pool.
Their own
An actual pool.
An
Yeah.
actual pool. Did it feel like, how did the concierge offering you experience on the adventure compare to perhaps what you're used to or what we're used to seeing in the US? Did it feel like a better experience, or did it
Oh
have
yeah,
drawbacks?
definitely.
Yeah.
It's a definitely if you sail concierge in the ships here and you sail there, you're definitely going to be like, wow, this is a big upgrade. And we definitely felt that way. All of us that sail there, we had sail concierge before here, and then we sail concierge there. We were like, wow, this is super nice. But again, it's like, it's such a big ship. You don't know the ship. You were like running around. So we felt like we were like, oh my God, we're barely spending time on the concierge area. So we
That's the hard
took like
balance.
one day, like the last day, we were like, okay, we're not going to do anything else anywhere else on the ship. We're spending the day in concierge today because, you know, we need to kind of use it more, right? And then we kind of left our exploring, you know, for the other cruises because we wanted to use there. So we went on the pool. We had lunch at the restaurant that they have in the concierge
right.
pool deck.
I forget
we
about
had
that. Yeah.
Yeah, we had time on the concierge spa, which they have like a mini rainforest area that's complimentary on the concierge spa. So yeah.
You're blowing my mind.
Yeah.
This is Brian. This will be Brian's favorite part of the ship, by the way, because now we don't always sail concierge. We're sometimes concierge sailors and sometimes regular sailers, just depending upon the cost of the cruise. But Brian loves a rainforest room, and I hate paying for the rainforest room. So
yeah. Well, it's a mini rainforest, not, you know, it's not
mini, sure.
huge like that, but it has the saunas, it has the hot tub, it has the loungers, you know, it's really nice. And I was the only person there. So I was like, okay, this is awesome. They do have a really beautiful thermal area in the regular spa. That is their, you know, their rainforest there, which is like, wow, amazing. It kind of blows all the other rainforests on easy.
This may be hard to answer because on the Maiden, I think a lot of people are like you. They're trying to run all over the ship and do stuff and probably not in the concierge. But did the concierge areas feel oversubscribed in relation to or they felt like they had enough room for everybody?
Plenty of room. Didn't feel crowded at any time, not even during open bar. The most crowded times, and this is a huge bonus for concierge on the ship right now, which is they have characters appearing several times a day.
Oh, so wow. That's
the rest of the ship is bonus. Fighting for characters, and concierge had characters like 6 times a day, 8 times a day, which, you know, doesn't happen in the sailings, you know, on the other ships at all. It's like once per cruise, the character will show up.
Once, and it's always a Fab 5 character. You get it once, and if you can't make that time, if you have a conflict, then you don't get it. It's just what it is.
So they literally had characters. They had Jasmine, they had Mickey, they had Minnie, they had Goofy, they had Donald. They have like plenty of characters. I didn't catch all of them, but they had like plenty of characters there. Concierge is not giving away the schedule. Apparently they had like a mishap that they sent out the schedule and the character changed and something happened there, but they're not sending the schedule. But you can stop by the concierge desk and ask them, you know, what times characters will show, and then they will tell you like, you know, 10, 12, 2, whatever, and you show up there and you see, you know, who it is. But that was a huge benefit for concierge since it's so difficult to actually get photos with characters. So that was really a nice one.
Are you listening to our show because you want to make the most out of your next vacation? Great news, the fabulous team over at My Path Unwinding Travel can help guide you so you don't miss a thing. Their team of professional travel advisors are caring, knowledgeable, and experienced. It's why we use them to book our own travel. My Path Unwinding Travel is an authorized Disney vacation planner, which means they are recognized by Disney for their expertise and service. They have sailed on all the Disney ships, including in concierge, visited the theme parks, adventured with Disney, relaxed at Aulani, and so much more. Whether it's a Disney cruise, a theme park vacation, or Adventures by Disney, or if you are looking to expand beyond the mouse, My Path Unwinding Travel will elevate your next vacation planning experience. Even if you have already booked, reach out for a complimentary consultation to make your vacation even more magical. Ready to talk to the experts? Head over to mypathunwinding.com/DCL Duo or email dclduo@mypathunwinding.com so they know we sent you their way. Thanks, My Path Unwinding, for sponsoring today's show. Now back to the episode. I wanted to get your take on staterooms because
Yeah, because you stayed in 3 or 4 different ones?
Yeah.
Or
4
Yeah.
different ones.
And it sounds like
Awesome.
it sounds like with your group for a part of the time. So like I'm assuming you guys had some pretty interesting coverage of stateroom categories and types. What make sense of like there's so many different kinds of staterooms now on board. How did you find the staterooms? Did you have favorites? Did you have head scratching around some of the decisions they made in the staterooms? Like I'm just curious how you found the staterooms.
The staterooms are definitely, I want to say, not as nice as the staterooms on the existing Disney ships. In terms of like quality of finishes of the staterooms itself, they feel cheaper. Let's say they are not terrible, but they are not the level that we are used to, right? So that's like for that. I always say that to everybody because I don't want anybody to arrive there and be like, oh my God, I'm so disappointed. But they're definitely not the same level. They are. You can tell it's like a cheaper finish, and they're not the same level. With that said, they're not a bad size. They're a pretty decent size. The really interesting thing is that they have it's not deluxe staterooms. Each category has their inside stateroom, ocean view stateroom, and veranda stateroom without the deluxe before the name, which for 4 people, and they have 2 sofa beds and 2 bunk beds. And there are 4 single beds in the room. So they're smaller rooms. They don't have the little like seating area. So they're just like the sofa beds and the bunks, and they do have a split bathroom, which is really funny to me that they have a split bathroom. But and I actually happened to go inside these rooms because since I was doing back to back, I was in and out at different times that people were not there. So I like, let me peek inside.
You're like, I'm nosy. I'm going to go in and see what they look like. I love that.
So I went in several of those, and so they're smaller rooms, kind of interesting. I wouldn't stay on them. That I would not. Even when I was traveling by myself, I was like, I don't want to sleep in a sofa bed or in a bunk. I want a real bed, and that is definitely a thing for me. The sofa bed in the deluxe rooms, they open for 1 person or open for 2 people. So if you have 3 people in a room, they will just open the sofa bed kind of like halfway. And then if you have 4 people, they will open like fully. You can choose, if you could tell them like open the full thing. But if you open the full thing, you have no space left in a room, right? Because it goes almost all the way to the table. Really hard, like the space between the bed and the sofa bed is like this, little narrow space. We found out the hard way the first day that they opened the full thing. I couldn't get my bag from under the bed because I was like, oh, it's stuck. What do I do now, right? So yeah, like your lesson, don't leave stuff in the bag that you need, because if they open that sofa bed, then you can't reach your bag. And then even the closet space. It's a little less closet space, so everything is kind of not hardly any drawers. So it's definitely like a smaller room with less storage than what we are used to. So really think about how much luggage you're taking. I was out there for over 20 days. I had quite a bit of luggage, especially because I bought too much stuff. So don't go with 2 bags for yourself. That's I actually bought an extra bag in Singapore because I bought so much merch, and that was planned. I planned that way. I knew I was gonna buy too much merch, and was like, whatever. That's what it is. But the concierge rooms, even the smallest concierge room, which is a concierge inside room, which is the room that we stay because we want to try that room. Like, it doesn't exist in any other ship. So it's a concierge inside. It is the size of 2 rooms. So, it is like almost like a suite, right? So it is quite a big room. You have the room with the king bed. You have the living area with the sofa bed for 2 people. And then you have, and this is really funny. Like, we found that out when we were on the ship because we were always like, this second second room is, it's a room. It's a separate room.
The nanny
and
room.
It's weird. It's the nanny room. Yes,
Yeah.
it is actually the nanny room. We were like, like so confused by this room when we were there because the quality of the finish of the room is it looks like a crew room. And I actually showed pictures to the crew room, like, does that look like a crew room? And they're like, yeah. And it's like, why is this like something that like someone
room,
in concierge would sleep? That's the nanny room. That's why it is that way.
So weird. That's so weird.
Yeah. But the room is quite big, and you have 2 bathrooms, and you end up having 2 bathrooms because of that. So you have the big bathroom, and then you have that tiny little room. We didn't use the shower in the tiny little room because that shower is super ridiculously small. And if you use that shower, you're going to flood the bathroom for real. That's I'm not just saying that. It doesn't have like, nothing to like stop the water. It's made to kind of, the water drains there. So it's not, we didn't use the shower there. So we use that as like a half bathroom. But that was a nice room. The concierge inside was pretty nice. So the concierge inside, the concierge veranda are actually the same size, exactly the same size. And the deluxe inside is the exact same size as the deluxe veranda.
Oh, wow.
So yeah.
So you get more space for an inside room than what we're sort of used to seeing on the other ships. Yeah.
Yep.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah. And then the deluxe ocean view rooms, I actually walked into some of the deluxe ocean view rooms. I don't know. I haven't looked at the map to confirm this, but I think they're all in the front of the ship. They're all facing forward. Maybe there are a couple ones on the side, but all in the forward area. And it's almost like the category. I think it's the 9Ds in the US that they have the slanted window. So they actually, but the slanted window rooms here, you kind of like you lose a little bit of the space. There, it's almost like the room is the full size of the deluxe room plus the extra slanted space. So actually, the rooms felt bigger. So it's interesting because I thought that they were going to be like smaller, but they feel bigger because they have like that extra like
sort of bump out with the slanted area. Interesting.
Right.
Interesting.
I don't love their location though because the ship is so huge and they're so far forward. That you're like quite a ways from the elevator and from everything else. So you're really like it's a track to get to those rooms. So that's the reason why I didn't book an ocean view. I usually book ocean view rooms as well. But I didn't book ocean view myself just because I thought that the location was like, no, I don't want to be in that
too
location.
far away. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Well, you've got lots of elevators, but you're right. You have, if you're that far forward or that far aft, you're going to be farther away from the elevator banks. And so something to think about, especially if you have accessibility, or mobility issues, it's definitely something to think about. I want to
they had accessible ones way all the way forward though.
All the way forward too, of course. Yeah. They always do. And all the way aft. All right, well, let's talk about food. We have to talk about food.
Before we change subjects, my favorite one was the veranda facing the stage. That was really good.
Yes, yeah,
so the garden view facing the stage, that was awesome. We had deck 12 first veranda right next to the stage, so that was like being in the theater and like a box in the theater because like we were just there watching the show from the veranda. So that was great. And because like the cruise we stayed in that room was not one of the most crowded cruises, but if you're sailing like a, holiday time, vacation time, that it's going to be crowded, that's a great option not to be there in the crowd.
Yeah, because then you can watch the Duffy show, the Avengers show, all that stuff from your balcony instead of being down in the thick of all the people, person to person, like you said. If you've got right. If you have 6,000 people, you're pushing people with your elbows to have room. Yeah. All right. Well, let's move over to food. I want to talk rotational dining a little bit, just because I want to hear your thoughts on how it works. I know we have 6 restaurants. You go to 3 on each sailing. I know you got to all 6 of them because you made the request to make sure you got to go to all 6 of them. But how do they compare to what we are used to in the U.S.? Like, is it a similar experience? I know there's some character shows in some of the dining rooms, but yeah, let's talk to me about like food and shows in the rotational dining?
Very much similar experience with what we're used to rotational dining. Each rotation has one restaurant that has characters. So you're either in the Hollywood Spotlight Club rotation or in a Navigators Club rotation. So each restaurant has Mickey, Minnie, Daisy, and Donald, and they do a little show. Hollywood Spotlight, they have like a show with like a pianist and I think someone playing like the cello and a singer with the characters, and they dance. And then Navigators has shoe singers with the characters. They sing and then dance. They go table to table very quickly. They don't really stop for photos hardly at all. And they just, go say hello to the tables. Interestingly enough, we had a table that we thought it was a great table at Hollywood Spotlight Club when we were in the concierge sailing. We was like we were the first table next to the stage, but none of the characters could get to our table. It was too narrow of a passage for them to get to our table. So they would come and almost get to our table and like, hi, bye. So we're like, okay, don't stay that close to the stage then. So that was a disappointment there. But so you're either gonna have one of those three restaurants. They're both really good. The menu is the same on both of them. The menu is the same, like either rotation, you're going to have the same menus. You're not going to be like, oh, I wish I was in that rotation because I wanted to eat certain things. No, that's not going to happen. You're going to have the same menu. Yeah. So Hollywood and Navigators have the same menu. Animators Table and Animators Palette, you're going to have the same menu, and they're pretty much equal. Like you really can't tell them apart. And then Pixar Market and Enchanted Summer, you have the same menu. Enchanted Summer, it's a weird one because you can either be in Olaf or you can be in Maximus era. So it's either Frozen theme or Rapunzel theme. And I ended up not sitting in Maximus area. I only sat in Olaf area. I sat in Maximus area like for lunch and breakfast, but for dinner, I ended up getting that rotation in a day that I booked omakase at Mike and Sully, so I ended up not sitting there for dinner. But the menus are the same, and the menus are really interesting because they mix dishes that we know from the Western menus, and I recognize dishes from 1923, Animator's Palette, Enchanted Garden. And then they have Asian dishes. So you can definitely be like, if I'm really not into Asian dishes, I'm afraid of the spices, then, stick to the Western menu. If you want to try something, you can order, and then you can always go back to something safe if you want. It was really interesting because I saw a lot of the Asian people ordering the dishes, the Western dishes, because they wanted to try it. Right. So I was like ordering all the Asian stuff. And
you're ordering exactly. That's what I would do. I'd be like, I'm going to order all, like, I don't need the steak that I can get in 1923. I want to order the Asian dish.
The filet from 1923. I did not order that none of the days. And, I was just like, I want to try the Asian dishes. So so all about, what's different. Right. So the Asian dishes, they had, different spice levels, and my waiters were always kind of pretty much spot on with when I asked about spice levels, they were really like good at telling me how spicy they were. And even though they were pretty good at that, I was like, oh, I want to try it anyway. And then I had like a second choice to be like my backup plan. And then, it turned out that some of them were too spicy for me. And then I had my backup dish that I was like, okay, I can't eat that. It's too much for me. So.
But that's good to try things, right? Because it is, and sometimes you don't really know. Like, I find there are some things that are really spicy that I can eat. And then there's other things that are really spicy that I just can't eat, right? If it's all heat with no the flavor that I can discern, I can't eat it. But if it's like a lot of heat, there's a lot of good flavor, I can eat. So that's great. I want to ask you about specialty dining, because we know obviously there's some unique specialty dining on this ship. You mentioned Mike and Sully's omakase that you went to. Did you do all of the options at Mike and Sully's, or just you did? I'm so excited to hear. So you did the omakase, you did the sushi, you did the hibachi, right? Those are the three, I think.
So actually, there's four. So you can book three. You can book omakase, teppanyaki, and in Japanese steakhouse. But they actually have a lunch option that is a paid lunch option that you can do. You can eat sushi and sashimi and some Singaporean dishes, actually.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So I did that too. So really interesting because you have so many options for food on the ship, right? It's like, it's just crazy amount of food. It's like for real, I ate at least one time in each option, but it's pretty crazy because there's just so much.
There's so much. Yeah.
So teppanyaki and omakase were my favorite. Teppanyaki was absolutely amazing, and we were all like $115 for teppanyaki. Like we were thinking like Benihana kind of stuff.
Right. Or
that
on
seems
Royal,
like
right?
way
It's like
overpriced,
on
but
Royal, I
no,
think it's like $60 or $70, something like that.
It's amazing. It's super high end. Like the food is like amazing, the best. I really love that experience. I know my husband and my children will love it. So when we go in December, I'm definitely booking that one. Omakase, I was talking to some other folks that were there, media people that were there, and we were all discussing the omakase, and we kind of like agreed that it's like enchanté, Asian enchanté.
So that sounds amazing. That sounds like better than enchanté. I'll be perfectly honest.
I think it's better than enchanté. So yeah, it was amazing, and I really loved it. But you have to be kind of like an adventurous eater to have that, right? So it's not for everyone. My husband would not go for that. My daughter would not go for that. My son would go for that. But like I know
So in December, you're going to book it for you and your son. The rest of the family can go someplace else.
Right. So for us, I know, that for us, for my family, for my adventurous eater, he would love omakase, but it really, because you don't really have the options, and all the preparations are super elaborate. And they start you with like sea urchin, and they have really cool stuff, but it's really different. So, and it's not really something that you can say just like, oh, I don't eat that, and it's
right.
It doesn't quite work.
They don't change out the menu for you just because you don't really like something. Now they will, I'm sure, tailor things if you have a food allergy, but there's only so much tailoring they can do with an omakase type menu.
Right. And now, the teppanyaki, even the teppanyaki, they will substitute some stuff, but the omakase it's really not.
Yeah, really not designed for that. I want to ask you about the other dining on board. Did you do Palo? I know they have
brunch and dinner.
Brunch and dinner. You, a girl after my own heart, Luciana. Tell us, is Palo the same as what we get on the other ships? Are there major differences? I know there's a limoncello souffle. Yeah.
Right, I had the limoncello souffle. It's so good. It's my favorite souffle, and it's only on the adventure, so that's very sad.
Well, you're going back in December. There you go.
Yeah, but so the restaurant itself is beautiful. It's like it's Luca themed, so it's like a night sky, really nice design that they did. It has 2 floors, really cool. And the brunch is very much the same menu, like hardly any difference for the brunch. That was like the most similar. One thing they don't have is the grape gorgonzola pizza, which I love, and they didn't have that. And we were like, what? No way. So they don't have that for brunch, but for dinner they have a couple things that are special for dinner. They have a carpaccio that was really good. I had the carpaccio. They have mushroom risotto that they used to have in the US and don't have anymore. I had that for dinner as well. And then I had the limoncello souffle. So my Palo dinner was all different things, all new stuff. So I was super happy with that. And it was amazingly delicious. The chef there, Chef Mateo opened several of the ships, and he's awesome, and he's there doing a phenomenal job. So really great.
That's awesome.
But interesting enough, Palo had tons of openings. Mike and Sully was way busier than Palo. So if you have a hard time getting your Palo, not in the adventure will have plenty of Palo spots.
And I mean, I'm wondering if that's because Americans who are on, or others who are on, who've been on the other ships were thinking, oh, I've already been to Palo. It's not really new, even though, of course, it is new because there's new dishes. But I can understand prioritizing Mike and Sully's over Palo because it is brand new. I mean, nothing like it on the other ships. I got to ask you about, so we've covered sort of the high end dining. I got to ask you about some of the quick service stuff because we know there's some additional quick service options. We've got Grammatala, we've got the
Mowgli.
Pizza Planet. We've got, it's Mowgli's. Yeah. What did you think of the quick service stuff? I mean, does it rival, Mickey's Festival of Foods on the Wish class? Because I think
Yeah,
that's the
absolutely.
best.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
That's
Great,
awesome.
great stuff. Great options. So they're open for lunch and they're open late at night as well.
Mhm.
So I saw a lot of people eating there late at night. I think it's like after 10 or something. I can't remember the time, but I remember seeing people eating like super late at night. We were there for like silent DJ, which is in Imagination Garden, which is awesome. Having silent DJ outdoors in that area, that's like amazing. So we were like in silent DJ, and then people were just like, eating their, Indian food and Grammatala and all the stuff. So
I love that.
yeah, it was awesome. And then my favorite one was Cosmic Kebabs. That was like the best. It has shawarma, like the wonder and the magic, and it has the kebabs and lots of really delicious, side dishes to go with it, a bunch of different sauces to go with it. So I had a kebab more than one time. Most of the stuff I only had time to do at one time, even though I had 4 cruises. But
But there's still
the
so much
kebab,
to do. Yeah.
right? And the kebabs I had more than once because they were that good.
Because they were that good.
And the Ohana Grill was funnily enough, the Ohana Grill was the most crowded one.
Oh,
So who wants
interesting.
burgers? They all wanted burgers. So I would be mad. I would not have imagined the burgers would be the busiest, but the biggest line, it was always the line outside for Ohana Grill. So
That's funny. Yeah. That's really funny. Okay, well, there's so much to cover. We've been going for an hour. I'm going to just ask you about a highlight from the shows
before I do that, we've got a couple questions in the chat that I just want to dispose of.
Sure.
I just want me to dispose of these questions, and then you can round us out on shows. Okay, Sam? So,
okay. All right.
Luciana, did you get the internet on board, and how was it?
Yes, I did for all 4 cruises. It was, most of the time it was pretty decent. The only time I noticed that it didn't work at all was when everybody was waiting for the fireworks.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Okay,
that
fair.
Makes sense.
Everybody, yeah.
Going back to rooms for a second, we have 2 questions on that garden balcony room that you were in. And somebody wanted to know how loud it was with the door closed, because we've seen competing videos now out on social media about this. And also, Andrew's asking a good question, which is, do they pipe the show music? And I would imagine you don't need it piped in because you can just open the door to hear it. But yeah.
Right. No, they don't pipe the music in. To be honest, you can hear a little bit, not a lot. And I was in the first room next to the stage, right? So we were quite like happy with the noise canceling, like the soundproofing. However, I am out of the room early and I'm back to the room late, right?
Right.
So I'm not in the room. So if I'm in the room, I'm watching the show or I'm not there, right?
Yeah.
So that it's not something that bothered me. If you're a person who sleeps early, then that might bother you. If you have babies who nap, that might bother you. So that, I was not bothered, but I was not there, right? So that's like you have to kind of like figure out, how much of the room you use and what are the hours that you stay in the room. So I think that's like key
mid-afternoon
to know if that
nappers. I think you're right. Mid-afternoon napper is probably not the right room for you. But if you're somebody who's going to be out and about, unless you're watching the show or sleeping, and you're a late night person, I think that makes total sense.
One last question, because this does come up on the ships. Are they too cold? They're too hot. How did the ship temperature feel on the adventure? Was the AC system working? Was everyone comfortable on board, or did you find yourself either too warm or too hot?
So I didn't really hear people talking about that. So to me, it makes me think that people were okay with the temperature, because when they're not okay, they will say something.
They'll complain. True.
Right? So I'm usually not cold in the US ships. In the other ships, I'm not usually like cold in those ships. So to me, the adventure was okay and it felt warm at some points. Especially in the first cruise, I thought that they were still kind of, figuring out the AC and adjusting the AC. So the first cruise, I felt like kind of warm, and some of the spaces are like, ooh, they need to kind of, adjust the AC here. But that was not something that, like, not a complaint that I saw, coming up on the WhatsApp groups or on the Facebook groups or anything.
Yeah.
So I think that most people thought it was okay. It was okay to me on the other ones. The first one, I was a little warm, and the other ones, I was fine. So the temperature was fine for me. I don't usually need to wear jackets or cardigans or anything like that, and I did not need to wear that on the adventure.
Sounds good. All right, Sam, take us out with shows.
Okay, I gotta ask you 2 questions about shows. I gotta ask you, like, what you thought of Remember, because obviously that's the main stage show. We know Seize the Adventure is on. I gotta ask you, you're giving me a heart. I love
for
that.
those listening at home, Luciana is giving us a heart already.
She's giving me a heart. Okay, so you loved Remember, but then tell me what's the best thing about Remember? And then I gotta hear what was the best of the garden stage shows, because there's obviously multiple garden stage shows. You've got Baymax, exercise one, you've got the Duffy one, you've got the Avengers one. Of course, you have the Sail Away Party, but that's the Sail Away Party, I think,
and
is
you have
similar.
Mickey Color Spin Dance Party for the 4 night.
Mickey's Color Spin Dance Party, right? Which is, it's cute, but it's not my favorite one. But
for the 4 night, you have an extra show, so it's a lot of shows. So I love Remember. I love the movie WALL-E. So, I already like WALL-E and Eve. So that's already, super cute. And they did a really cute show. It's a lot of the favorite musical numbers for, famous Disney movies. So they really mix well. I don't know if you guys know the story, but, WALL-E and Eve are, hanging out. Starts with Eve being in a ship that kind of like didn't make it back, and he's missing her, and then she comes back and he's all happy to see her, and they're hanging out and having fun with Eve's favorites. So Eve's favorites, a bunch of, Disney movies. And then something happens and she gets hit by lightning and she gets damaged. Her batteries get damaged. And then WALL-E is trying to make her recover, right? So how does she recover? And then he gets her to recover with Disney favorites. So it's super cute. However, when she recovers, and then what happens? System reset. She forgets everything. Memory erased. So then he's trying to get her to remember. So it's super cute. And people were asking, like, why, how come, like, Coco mixes in with, why is the show Remember and all that? So, obviously Remember Me, right? He wants her to remember him. And then she does remember him, and everybody's like, oh. So, super cute, super cute. So all the musical numbers were great. The stage is really cool because it has, here how they have like the projections around the stage. They have like actually like a LCD around the stage that kind of like spans the stage. It's really cool.
It's so awesome. I mean, it looks, just from the pictures and video we've seen, it looks incredible. Yeah.
Right. So it is really, really well done, really nicely done. Obviously with all the cool effects with, bubbles and all the stuff that we see on Disney shows. So they did an amazing job, and I really love the show. I watch Remember every single time, and I didn't miss any of the showings. And my friends were with me too. We were all like, no, we're seeing this again and again and again.
Every time. That's what I would do too. I would be there with you.
Super cute. And Seize the Adventure is basically the same show. They have a couple changes, some character changes, but it's pretty much the same show. They changed the ending a little, like they didn't change the ending. They changed the music at the ending, which was, we were all waiting like, what? What do you mean they changed the song? That song is like so iconic at the end. And then we understand because they use that song at the end of Remember. So we're like,
gotcha. Okay. That makes sense. So, yeah.
Right.
All right. Well, garden stage.
Awesome.
Which one was your favorite?
Avengers Assemble, which is awesome. So have you guys done Marvel Day at Sea?
We have not, but we have talked a lot with folks who've done the whole Heroes Unite deck party. And so I've heard it sounds like it's similar, but not the same.
Right. So I've done Marvel Day at Sea a couple times, and the last time was last year on the Dream, so I could kind of fresh to compare it with this one. And then there was some like other cruisers that had done Marvel Day at Sea, and we're kind of discussing the show there. Um, so these cruises were like, wow, Marvel Day at Sea show is better because it has so many more characters. It's such a bigger show. I'm like, well, yeah, but that's just for Marvel Day at Sea because they can't have that
Right.
amount of characters on the ship for, every week,
All the
right?
time,
So it's again
every day.
expectations, right? Like what are the expectations? So I thought this show was amazing. And it's not doesn't have as many characters as Marvel Day at Sea, but it has all the main ones. And the production is incredible because they
Mhm.
have a permanent stage that's not just the pool stage, right? So they have a lot more like special effects.
Mhm.
So it's super impressive, and it really like a kind of like a jaw dropping show. That show was really good. All the characters are like super on point. The Spider-Man coming in, Wanda coming in,
I
like
love it.
it's awesome. It's really great. And I watched the third cruise. The third cruise was the one that they let us sit down, and I was sitting down in the crowd, surrounded by children, and the children were amazing. It was amazing to watch the children. I was watching the children because the children were like, "Wow,
Their
wow,
minds
oh
were
my god!"
blown.
So they were like, freaking out. The characters were like fighting, things exploding, and these kids were like, "Oh my god!" So we
Oh,
were having the best time watching the kids watch the show. So it was amazing.
I love that. I love that. Well, I mean, we could probably talk for another hour plus, but we're going to have to wrap up with the
Although,
show
although,
here.
although I should say in the chat, Raphael is saying, please bring
Yes.
on Luciana more often. Great
Yes.
conversation. I will say, Luciana, you're welcome back anytime on this
Anytime.
show. We have had such a blast talking to you.
Thank you.
I want to ask one more thing, Luciana, before we wrap up and we let you tell folks where they can find you and follow you and all that good stuff. Tell us, like, who do you think that this ship is for, right? Is this ship for only the Asian audience? Is it also for the American audience? Is it for the Disney Cruise Line completionists? Like, who is this ship for? Because that's a question we keep getting asked. And I got to ask your opinion. We've asked our other two guests who were on the adventure as well.
Anybody who goes with an open mind, to be honest. Like, if you're a Disney fan, you're gonna love the theming of the ship. It's gonna be like amazing theming. The shows are great. You're gonna love the shows. The food is great. The restaurants are great. The only thing that I really didn't care for was the character situation, but I'm sure they're gonna fix that. We didn't talk about San Francisco, like seriously. Uh,
Yes.
San Francisco is like they made arcade games themed to Big Hero 6. All the
It's
arcade games
crazy.
there are themed to Big Hero 6. I was there every day. I love playing games. I was there every day. Every night before going to bed, I'm like playing all the games, trying to beat my score. And you don't pay for it. You just scan your card and you play as many times as you want. The games are amazing. So, honestly, it's a great ship. Like I love the ship. It's so different and it's so weird, and it's at the same time it's so great, right? So, yes, it's not a normal Disney ship. Yes, you don't walk in and there's an atrium with people clapping and saying your name. No, it's different, but it's okay to be different. I don't think that it's like, oh no, it sucks, doesn't have a green hall and it's terrible. Like, no, it has its pros and cons, like everything. All the ships, I love all the Disney ships. I don't have a
Mhm.
problem with any of the ships. I keep telling people I have great cruises in every single one of them. The experience is really kind of like what matters. Like,
Mhm.
I can tell you great experiences I've had in every single one of them. So that to me, that's the same on the adventure. We had a blast, with our friends on the Maiden, even though there were like some weird stuff happening with the Maiden, with, stuff that they were still figuring out. Yes, I was very sad not to have the roller coaster working. The roller coaster started working the day I disembarked, and I was pissed. so, so that was not fun. But I'm super excited to go on the roller coaster in December. I'm glad I have that cruise booked because I would be sad not to have a cruise booked and not have missed the roller coaster. So there are so many things to do on the ship. And I think that if you go with an open mind, that it's just a different Disney experience, you're going to enjoy it because especially to me that, like you guys too, you guys cruise a lot. I know every single dish and every single menu. I know all the restaurants. I know everything. I'm like, sometimes I joke with my other friends that cruise a lot. It's like, oh my God, I'm so tired of eating the same menus. I like them, but I want new stuff. And that was new stuff. Like, so I'm like,
exactly.
woohoo, all new stuff. So yay.
Exactly.
So yeah. So my, if you were still have a lot of Disney ships to see, it might not be your first choice to go there. It might be easier to go see all the ships here and then go there. But honestly, for the folks that are telling me like, oh, I always wanted to go to Disney Hong Kong, Disney Shanghai, Disney Tokyo, and then I'll just combine it with the Disney Adventure. Like, yeah, why not? Perfect.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Luciana, why don't you tell folks where they can find you if they want to book a cruise or other vacation with you, or if they want to just follow along on Instagram because you have amazing content and Instagram will translate it even if you don't speak Portuguese.
Thank you. Yeah, my Instagram is Amo Cruzeiro Disney, but it will be hard for people to
We will
know
put
how
it
to
in the show
spell that.
notes. We will put it in the show notes.
It will.
Put it there. I have a website that has all the info in detail, even more than the Instagram. And then I do put room tours on YouTube. So I have a ton of room tours on all ships on YouTube. I will be posting the adventures. I haven't posted the adventure ones on YouTube yet. I'll be posting there. I eventually will post more stuff on YouTube, but that's still a to-do in my to-do list. I do have a TikTok in English. I love Disney Cruise. I have to post more on TikTok. I'm starting to post more on TikTok. So that one is in English. So follow me. My content is mostly in Portuguese, but as you guys can see, I do speak English, so people can message me in English. It's fine.
Your English is better than my Portuguese, just to be clear. So.
That's not saying much, Brian.
I would hope so.
Yeah, she lives in
here.
Orlando.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, if we're comparing here, like,
yeah. That's hilarious. That's too funny. No, it's been a blast having you. Of course, as Brian said, you're welcome to come back anytime. Of course, not just to talk about the adventure, but to talk about any Disney cruising or other, or adventures by Disney we love to cover as well. But thank you so much for coming on the show. We will be back next week, same time, same place. So we'll be back at 5:30 p.m. Pacific, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We have the incomparable Tinfoil Mouse Ears. Our friend CT is going to be joining us for a prognostication episode. For those who haven't watched us before, a prognostication episode is where we like to just predict. We have no inside information, but we like to predict what Disney Cruise Line is going to do next. We're going to talk about the Believe, the new ship that's been finally announced the name of, that comes out in late 2027. We're going to talk about our predictions for what theming will be on the ship. And not just, we know some of the theming that will be on the ship, but where that theming will be on the ship. Is it going to be a new bar? Is it going to be a new show? Is it going to be a new rotational dining? So you'll hear all of the duo's predictions, all of CT's predictions. If you're not following along on our Substack, CT's been putting out some great predictions on there, and he's going to have one for next week to coordinate with the show as well. But of course, we'll be on next week. So watch us live or watch us recorded. And if you're listening over on our podcast channels, you can always come over to YouTube and watch us as well. So thanks so much, everyone. Have a lovely evening, and we will see you real soon. Oh, look, there's the wishing well.
I must have it. I must have it.
Atrium statue. There's no atrium, but there is an atrium statue. It's Snow White and the Wishing Well for those watching on the video. Yeah. But thank you so much, Luciana. Thank you to everybody who's watching, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you, everybody.
See ya. Well, thanks to everyone out there for listening this week. We really, really appreciate it. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you can keep getting great content from us every week. In fact, twice a week we publish shows. So be sure to hit the subscribe button to get all of those great episodes. And if you want to watch us live, we have a live show now every week, Monday nights, 5:30 p.m. Pacific, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, over on youtube.com/DCLDuo. So be sure to head over and check that out. If you want to help support the show, be sure to hit those 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. And if you leave us a written review, a 5-star written review, we will we'll read it at the top of one of our main episodes. So please head over there and hit those 5 stars. Of course, you can also help support the show by supporting our fabulous show sponsor, My Path Unwinding Travel. If you want to book your next Disney vacation, head over to mypathunwinding.com/DCL Duo or email them at dclduo@mypathunwinding.com so they know we sent you their way. If you've got questions or you'd like to connect with us, the best way to do that is to head over to dclduo.com. It's got links to all of our things, full catalog of the podcast episodes, including a searchable catalog for the podcast, links off to our vlog, a link to our Etsy store where we sell some fun fan-inspired magnets, link to our Patreon if you'd like to help directly support the show each and every month. Just head over to the website or patreon.com/DCLDuo. Also has a way for you to sign up for our Substack newsletter that we're hoping to start really pumping out monthly here at least, and a few blog articles that we've written. So DCLDuo.com is the best way to connect with us. You can also, of course, email us at info@DCLDuo.com or reach out to us on our voicemail line at 402-413-5590. That's 402-413-5590. The DCL Duo podcast is not affiliated with Disney Cruise Line, the Disney Company, or the Disney family of theme parks. The views expressed on the show are solely those of the individuals on the podcast and in no way reflect the views of the Disney Company or Disney Cruise Line. If you have questions about a Disney cruise or a Disney vacation, please contact the great folks over at My Path Unwinding Travel or Disney directly or your own travel agent. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time for another fabulous adventure with the DCL Duo. Good night.